Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Norway Chess 2024. Norway Chess is one of the strongest tournaments that occurs in chess every single year, and it's limited to 12 players, 6 in the open, 6 in the women's. And the format is very unique. The players play a classical game of chess against each other that is worth 3 points, and if they draw their classical game, they restart. White gets 10 minutes, black gets 7 minutes, and black gets draw odds. And that is the format of the event. And then winning the Armageddon gets you 1.5, and losing it gets you a point. It's a very unique format. And today, we have Magnus versus HIKARU Nakamura in a classical game of chess, something we don't get to see very often. They play each other in blitz, they play rapid, they play bullet, but they don't play much classical. And it is a fascinating story when they play against each other. I will show you all the games of the round in the second round of action here. And I'm also testing out this new overlay. I'm on, it's slightly different than normal, but because there's so many games and there's so many Armageddons, we will keep it here. Do let me know if you like this one, or you're bad with change and you hate change. Let's go around the horn, and then we will take you to the main event of the evening. So, Liren versus Prag. Yesterday, Ding and Magnus had a very weird game. Can I just say that was a very weird game? It was drawn 15 moves. Magnus spent 15 minutes eating noodles. So today, Ding shows up and he plays c4, plays the English. Yesterday, he showed up and he played a Catalan. This time he shows up, plays the English. e5, principled move from Prag, now g3, and here the cutting edge line is c6. Or you can play c6 like this, and basically you are trying to play d5 without actually trying to put a knight. This is actually, nowadays, the modern antidote to c4 and g3. It's kind of insane that basically, a few years ago, people were like, why don't I push the C pawn and then the D pawn? And this entire variation has died. Basically, now you have to play moves like knight f3, induce e4, put the knight on d4, black plays d5. You usually take it, by the way. You take it, you play queen d5, but this is not what happened in the game. Instead of that, we have d3. Very strong move. I'm going to turn off my air conditioning. My air conditioning would like to participate in today's recap. You know anything about air conditioning in New York City, it's loud. d3, bishop c5, knight b3, bishop b6. All of this has been played before, and now Ding trades all the pawns in the center and plays castles and knight c3. And we have this to work with. Black has this pawn, white has this pawn. They're kind of dynamically counterbalanced. You will also notice neither player has spent, both players have spent a considerable amount of time, right? Like they are both thinking, and then in this position, Ding decides after some 14 minutes to do this, right? And now Prag castles. I don't know what else he could have possibly been thinking of, but he decides to castle. So we have this position. Now we have knight c6, bishop a3, targeting the rook moves, e3. Ding is trying to disallow this pawn from coming forward. However, Ding has a very big weakness of his own, which is why right here he decides, let's get rid of each other's weaknesses. Okay, rook c1, knight d2, and now Ding has a 1-on-2. That is a queenside majority for Prag. And there is a 4-on-3 on this side of the board. It's an open space. I mean, you talk about an open position. That is an open position if I've ever seen one. But the problem is both players are extremely good. And Ding tries to hammer away at the queen side. Prag completely leaves his piece there to kind of strike here. We have knight e4, and Prag misses a chance. He could have played queen h5 allegedly. That was a strong move, putting a lot of pressure on the position. He goes here though, and Ding very quickly builds up a kind of nice pressure. It looks like he's going to win all of Prag's pawns, but here comes Prag with the vicious counterplay. And we have rook d1, rook c2 is apparently a mistake. Again, the events page puts these annotations. I kind of wish they didn't, so I could just talk about what happened in the game. But that's just sort of how it goes. Also, there's the captured pieces. This overlay is a little bit finicky. Rook a2, queen b1, and Ding here could have played queen b7, which would have given him a very strong advantage. He could have put a lot of pressure here. He would have been a comfortable pawn up, but instead of that, he brings the queen back, and we trade. We have this endgame, and this is just a clean draw. There is no back rank checkmate because it's protected. So, they draw, which means they go to Armageddon. Which means Ding gets 10 minutes versus 7. So a lot of you wrote in the comments of the last video, why is it 10 versus 7? If you listened with sound, which is a much better way to enjoy a YouTube video than without sound, you would know, I'm gonna speak directly into the microphone, 10 minutes for white, 7 for black, but if the game ends in a draw, black wins. To get that second guaranteed result, which is a massive thing, you need to give some sacrifice, so you start with 3 minutes less. That is why. So if you're watching this and you still don't know, it's your fault. You have terrible reading comprehension, auditory comprehension. I don't know how to help you, okay? So this time we have this approach, knight f3, and d4, and Prag just plays like c5. e3, knight c6, d3, and now this move, bishop to e7. So instead of playing bishop d6, which is another very normal way to play the position, we have what's called a reversed Benoni, all right? Or rather, yes, it's a reverse Benoni. So we have knight a3. The idea is very simple. You want to play knight b5 or knight c2. Since there is nothing to target on the b5 square, we're going to come back here. We're going to support the advancement of this side of the board. And there we have exactly that. Prag is already actually a bit worse. This is not a position that you really want with black. You know, white is going to very slowly prepare b4, and you're simply not going to be able to stop it. Right? So now Prag starts fighting in the center. You haven't been able to stop b4, bishop d6, c5, right? And Ding is playing a very nice positional game. This is Ding Liren at his finest. AB, AB. This is... If you have to play rook b... I mean, rook b8 doesn't even look real. The fact that Prag had to play a move like rook b8 just knows he was not comfortable in the position. Like, he has the open file, right? And the reason he played rook b8 is he was annoyed. Rook a7, you know, Ding is going to play like rook a1, b5. Like, he's going to crash through. Prag didn't like something in the position, but rook b8 is not the solution to the problems. And now he has to play like b5. And knight b5 is actually not the best move. Ding could have played knight g5 and taken this knight and started taking everything. But knight b5 is going to get it done probably. Knight d6. Ding is just in. I mean, he is in there. Queen a4 targeting the pieces. Remember, he's got to win, so he has a nice time advantage. He has all the pressure. Prag doesn't have a lot of time, and we get into a little tactical skirmish. Just 2 pieces. White just has 2 bishops for a rook. Even if black has an extra pawn, 2 bishops are worth more than 6 points when they're combined, because that's how chess math works. And now Ding is just up a bishop, and you get a few more moves. Prag basically trying not to lose the game on time. But I don't actually know how he played so many moves, just by the way. Like, I don't know how it's even possible to not lose a second of time. How is that even possible? What? How did he have 2 seconds for like 20 moves? That's not even possible. I don't know. Anyway, Prag goes down, Ding wins. Very nice game from Ding. Only problem with what I see here is this was in the Armageddon. Like, Ding had a very nice position in the classical as well, but we want to see the world champion, you know, put the pressure on, and you know he did it in the Armageddon. It's absolutely well-deserved victory. We see what Ding is capable of when he's comfortable, when he's moving, when he's got a position that this is right here. This is Ding Liren. Hopefully we see a resurgence and kind of a reawakening, if you will. And yeah, the overlay looks a little bit silly. It looks like the black clock is cut off, but it's not. Now, Vaishali versus Humpy Koneru. This is the present versus the future, if you will. This is the future versus like the incumbent generation. I mean, these two are maybe a decade apart in age. Humpy is a pioneer of chess in India, and particularly women's chess. And Vaishali is the future. She is the best young star they have, especially on the women's side. They also have Divya. They have Savitha, and they have a bunch of other strong players. Vantak Agrawal, they have like a bunch of strong players. So she plays e4. We have an Italian. Knight c3, knight f6, 4 knights. Very boring game, but not anymore, because we're going after the bishop, all right? a3, knight e7, take, bishop e3, very solid, and we're not being solid anymore. Yeah, this is this is crazy. That's h4, baby. Like, and listen, you want to attack me on the side? Here comes Humpy. d5, all right? Ed knight d5, and I mean here this is just ballistic stuff. h5 is, what are we doing? I mean, it looks like they're already playing the Armageddon. Knight e7, cheap. Now this move, see, the thing is, when you watch with no eval bar, this is crazy. This would have been Mikhail Tal style, but Engine right away is like, no. And actually, black can strike right back down that same line. She does b5 first, and she doesn't strike back, and she allows Vaishali to kind of consolidate. Like, Humpy tried to trade pieces, and that was the way she tried to deal with the attack, and tried to create her own counterplay. But somehow, Vaishali got time, and time is very important. And now Vaishali's like not losing. There's not really a way through. So Humpy brings the rook, Vaishali brings her rook, but now black, you gotta sit in there with black. You're like, I was supposed to win. She played so ridiculous. Like, how can I not be winning King C1? I must be winning. I'm rotating Knight H7. Great move, right? You're looking, maybe I'm going to win the endgame. Vaishali still trying to fight. Now B6 is winning. She misses it. Now we might be heading for a queen trade. And Humpy here has 5 seconds on the clock. Apparently here, Humpy has literally 5 seconds on the clock. I mean, that's nuts. And what happens next is she has 7 moves. She has to make 7 moves in 8 seconds, apparently. She goes here. Rook d5 is a mistake because you lose the pawn. Now she has 3 seconds. She has 3 seconds. She plays this move, which is apparently wrong. You have to go queen a4. Right now, both players. Now Humpy has to make 3 moves in 2 seconds to not lose the game on time. First of all, if white plays knight c5 here, the best move is queen a2. I'm not even sure you can move the queen that far. She manages to move one square. Knight back to g5 and rook f3. And now there's bonus time, but unfortunately, the game is lost. Because here, black gets her bonus time, but she plays b6. And that's... instead of that, black could have went back to e6. It was a very tense game. But she got a little bit low on time, rook a1, and yeah, I mean, she did not look back. Now white is a pawn up with complete control, and the black queen gets trapped in the center of the board. It's crazy. Absolutely insane game. Complete chaos in this game. Well, let me move this over here so you can see the captured pieces. And they should be showing up over here as well. There we go. That's a little bit. Well, we're making some progress with this overlay, this goofy overlay. Yeah, insane game. I mean, Vaishali, bro, Vaishali showed up and was like, someone's losing. But yeah, Vaishali did a Max Holloway, all right? That's from my UFC. She went like this. She pointed down. She's like, let's go. Right. Humpy was also throwing the hooks. It was crazy. It was unbelievable. And ultimately got a little bit too low on time. And a big win for Vaishali. Massive win. Now, Firouzja versus Fabiano Caruana. My man Firouzja is so funny. Dude, I love Firouzja's style. He's like, dude, I hate preparing for Fabi. London. Like, dude straight up is like, I hate preparing for Fabiano. One of the best prepared players in the world. 2805. London. London. E3, C5, knight 3, knight C6. Now there's a lot of lines. So many lines here. Now Fabi plays bishop G4. It's one of the lines. It's a million lines. E6, bishop B7, bishop D6. Now, there's so many lines. Fabi plays this way. Queen B3. And now there's a line here with white, bishop d6. It's a gambit line. You, nope, wrong line. Wrong line. No, not here. That was stupid of me. That is not, where is the line? Is it in a slightly different move order? There's a line, queen b3, bishop d6. I swear. Maybe I swear I'm not stupid. Anyway, there's a line where black plays bishop d6 against queen b3. Maybe it's with the queen on c7, something like that. It's not in this position though, clearly, because it was +4 and Gotham should shut up. But there is a line, I swear, just apparently not here, boys and girls. Which is why Fabi played queen c8 and didn't lose the game, like me. h3, bishop f5, h5 rather. And you know, he can go g4, but he's not doing it. Oh, just kidding. And now he grabs the bishop. Sorry, I'm allergic to stupid moves. c4, queen d1, insane position. Bishop hits the knight. Knight is hanging, by the way. Knight hits the bishop. Bishop is hanging as well. So what do we do? Well, first we're going to take the knight. We're going to give a check. Move the king. Bishop's got to go. We're going to trade. And I'm going to play king to g2. And I'm going to try to win this pawn back. Or I'm going to play knight f1, knight g3 and try to win this pawn back. Now Fabi has to act now. He does. Let it be known. Look at their clock. Look at their clock. This is all theory. They didn't think. This entire thing, up until king to g2, has been played... What? How is this even possible? Yeah, it's possible. And sometimes what happens in these crazy forcing lines... By the way, Firouzja just up a pawn. You can see it says +1. Rook g1, he's just, but his pawn's a little bit ugly, but he's up a pawn. I mean, he's completely cruising here. And here, maybe bishop g5 a little bit better, but he plays knight d2. You may be wondering, why can't Fabi just take this pawn? G7 is hanging. So that I actually can see. Now we have bishop f6, bishop g5. Fabiano is down 40 minutes on the clock. I mean, I'll Alireza is cooking. He is cooking. And here, what he had to do is he needed to use his rooks. He needed to use his queen. He tries to use his knight. That move allows king to f7, a very, very cool defensive resource. Defending e6 against knight c5 and preparing rook g8. And now the advantage is gone. And it looks like white is still breaking through. He's not. Because rook g8, the pawn on b7 does not matter. You can take it. Look at this incredible move. Rook g6, insanely accurate defense. If queen f3, white goes rook f1 and you lose because queen e4, knight d6. So you got to go this way. And then I get in with my queen. And now you're in some serious trouble. I think Alireza missed rook g6. That move cuts the white attack off. And now we got all sorts of h-file counterplay. The real threat in the position, maybe what Alireza had missed from a distance, is that after queen to b5, there is this. And it gets a brilliant move. Do you know why it gets a brilliant move? If you take the knight, it looks like there is nothing, right? Well, the illusion is that it's not the G file, it's the H file! And you get mated out of nowhere. You're completely winning. That's the defensive idea. A crazy defensive idea from Fabiano. Knight d8. Alireza gives him a counterpunch. Rook has to go off the G file, and now we get a draw. Queen h7 played. And Alireza offered a draw because it's just going to be repetition. Queen f2, queen f3, queen e2, queen f3. There's nothing better. Nothing better. You take here, you lose, probably. Just get mated. So don't do that. The game was on a knife's edge, and if Alireza was patient for a moment, if he didn't play knight b3, if he played rook g2, rook g1, and just slowly went to g7, didn't rush. Honestly, it's good advice for myself as well. But he allowed this absurd defense. Rook g6 is crazy, with the idea to go here and sack the queen. And that is why this game ends in a draw, which means we have Armageddon. Let's go. Knight f3, d5, b3. Again, a man who wants no part of Fabiano Caruana's repertoire. Bro played the London, and he played the Nimso Larsen, which is what HIKARU plays in Blitz. I love Alireza. He's like, bro, let's just play some double. I'm going to put all my pawns. Like, what is he doing, bro? Bishop g2, e5, gives Fabiano the center, but he's just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's -1 because it's an Armageddon game. d4, knight e2, he's worse. I mean, he's just worse. Like, his knight is goofy. h3, right? It's -1.6. What is Alireza doing, bro? It's -2, but it's Armageddon. Queen d1. Not only is it -2, bro, he's not even up on time anymore. What is Alireza? Oh my God, what is Alireza doing? He's got no moves. He can't move any pieces. Oh my God. Knight d2. I mean, he's gonna try to do his best. How do you get a 3-minute time advantage and now you're losing? Oh my, this is a terrible turn of events for Alireza. Oh my goodness. I mean, it is worse and worse. I mean, like, he's playing 20-48 with his pieces. You know that game where you slide the piece? Oh my goodness. King f1, h5, and king g2, and oh my, he's pawned down now. b4, a4. 92. Okay, this is an unnecessary move from Fabiano, but I get it. Like, take, and then, you know, the pawn is strong. But Alireza gives up the bishop. And suddenly it's game on. Okay, but he's gonna lose. He only has 30 seconds on the clock. Bishop c8. 1, bishop b4. Okay, it's complicated. Blunders everywhere. Knight f3. And Fabiano hung a fork. Oh my God, he hung a fork, and now it's 13 seconds versus 18, bishop d7, no bonus time, it's Armageddon, and Fabiano loses, he just loses. Knight g5, he can't go anywhere. Rook b7, bruh. This is absurd. Dude, it was, Firouzja's position was dead. He had nothing. It was -6, and Fabiano was up 90 seconds. What is going on? This is bananas. This is crazy. What is... Oh my God, he won. He won from here. Oh boy. And Alireza wins. I'm telling, this tournament is crazy. Like, this format is so goofy. It leads to some crazy games. Lei Tingjie versus Pia Cramling. This was a Sicilian Sveshnikov, one of the most complex openings that exist. Knight d5. Take, knight b8. This was surveyed in the Fabiano Caruana Magnus Carlsen World Championship match of 1918. Just kidding, it was 100 years later. Castles. knight d7. All of this has been played before, and basically the idea is black plays f5 and checkmates white. And there she goes. And as you can see, the computer already likes black's position. She plays rook f6, rook h6, and I mean, g4 is absurd. Absurd move. But you try to get rid of the pawns, and now you're trying to create counterplay. The engine hates it. As a human, this is very normal. And instead of that, Pia should have went knight f6. Should have been a little bit more active. But it's kind of a weird move, because after like knight f6, g4, it's not really clear what you're doing with the rook or the knight. Well, you go like this, and you try to play for h5. But not even that quickly. Like, let's say white plays a5. You can play h5 now, but actually even e4 is a nice idea. So Pia probably needed to put her knight a bit more actively. She does it this way and gives Lei enough time to make this little setup, which completely restricts black's pieces. Like, 4 major squares are now covered, and Pia finds it very difficult now to, you see, her pieces are kind of all stuck. Meanwhile, Lei is like, well, if you're not going to mate me, I'm just going to win the game. Like, I'm just, you know, I'm going to play b4, and it's +2. And white is completely winning. Basically, in these positions, like, if black doesn't checkmate white, it's over. Lei should have been patient, though. She should have went rook f3 first. She goes here, game turns into complete chaos. Both players have to make knight. c6 looks completely winning. She should have taken on a6. She should have taken this and attacked the rook. She goes here. Excellent move from Pia, joining the pawns and creating counterplay. Both sides have 7 moves to make, or else they lose on time. And look at this. Look at this. And the e-pawn sneaks in. Lei gives up the rook, but a queen instead. This is gangster stuff from Pia Cramling, ladies and gentlemen. And we get a repetition of moves. Crazy game. I mean, that was a heavyweight fight. And now these two play in Armageddon. Right? So we have e4, Sicilian. And remember, it's a draw odds. This time we have a Kalashnikov. e5 instead of Sveshnikov. Bishop e2. Pia going for these kind of Sicilians, trading the dark squared bishop. And remember, white is up 3 minutes to start the game, but not anymore. Now it's barely a 30-second time advantage, and black has completely equalized. So again, we're seeing this kind of thing. But the thing is, with the pressure on, it's not that easy to play, and suddenly Lei Tingjie is crashing through. That's a threat, and that's a threat. And yeah, Pia, knight c7 is just losing. There is unfortunately no way to make a comeback here. I think the game ended in some 10-15 moves. She tried to create some counterplay, but rook versus knight is a pretty tough disadvantage. The king gets hunted, and she had some question marks here for the position, but Lei always had everything under control. Queen g6, rook c8, and Lei wins this one in the Armageddon. And that's, you know, again, like, this is Armageddon for you. It's equal here, and all of a sudden you make one bad trade. You kind of underestimate the tactics. Rook c8. You can't play here because knight f5 is crushing. You play rook c8, knight d5, and it's crazy because it was actually very even on time. But a couple of, you know, bad decisions. You have to go knight c6, knight d4. It's life. Lei wins. Wenjun, Anna Muzychuk, women's world champion. We have a bishop's opening, kind of a Vienna. This is actually in the e4 course. Bishop d5 is the recommendation in the course. In my course, I recommend bishop d5. Wenjun does not study the Gotham course. Because she's only slightly, you know, she's a little bit better than us, but g6, and she still gets kind of a very imbalanced game here, but not much happens. Queen f3, they trade a lot, every piece basically. White had a little bit of pressure, but the rooks are about to come off, and we just have a knight endgame. Honestly, like, the piece trades came very quickly in this game. It was a trade from the opening, 2 trades, and then there was like a trade of bishops, and then there was a trade of queens. So it's going to be tough to win a position where after 17 moves, you know, this is what it is. But obviously, Wenjun was not particularly thrilled with the opening result. So she's going to try to win this in the Armageddon. All right? And she goes for the same opening, by the way, but this time she plays knight f3 instead of knight e2. Also not in the Gotham course. And we still kind of get a Vienna-ish structure. But what the heck is going to happen? How are you going to get this bishop out? The bishop's an imposter, dude. It's a pawn. f6, and yet white is much better. How is that even possible? Like, she's just a tap, dude. She doesn't even care. She has no bishop. The bishop is a pawn. Rook g3, she just generates this massive attack. But what about the bishop? And I mean, now you can already play moves like bishop a4 and trade it. She plays c3, and Anna just gets tired of waiting. She sacrifices a piece, but unfortunately it's just not going to be good enough. And Wenjun absolutely bulldozes, and now that bishop comes back in to deflect the queen from the defense. Look at that. That's funny. It's iconic. That's the 29th move of the game. On the 12th move of the game, she walled in her own bishop, and she knew the bishop would be returning, and that's exactly what happened. And ultimately, she broke through in a violent fashion with rook f6, bishop h6. If queen h6 you take, and then you take the rook, she wins the queen. And crazy game, but Wenjun ultimately comes out on top. A lot of white wins today. Ding beat Prag. Firouzja beat Fabiano in one of the dumbest games I've ever seen in my life. No disrespect, just was absolutely hilarious. I would have lost it with both colors. Just, you know, white is 4-0 in the Armageddon today. And now here we are, my friends. We are at the game Magnus Carlsen, HIKARU Nakamura. Now, let me just tell you right now, if you just skipped ahead, recently there has been a resurgence of this rivalry, you know, between Magnus and HIKARU. Historically, though, before the chess boom, Magnus had a ridiculous score against HIKARU in classical chess. And so that was sort of like the rivalry that never really happened, because they were supposed to be, you know, these crazy rivals. And somehow HIKARU would allow advantages to sort of dissipate over the years. He had the very painful game in Zurich. He made a video about it. I think it takes insane amounts of mental fortitude, and I look up to HIKARU a lot, to bring this rivalry back to the forefront. There is only one man on planet Earth who can consistently, keyword, consistently challenge Magnus in rapid blitz and bullet, and it's HIKARU. It's not glazing, as the kids say, all right? It's not riding, as the kids say. None of that stuff, all right? Look at the stats. There's a couple of people that sporadically beat Magnus, like Ali Reza recently did, some of the Indian guys like Gukesh and Prag, only one man consistently. So it's very interesting to me, will that translate to classical chess for HIKARU? If HIKARU starts beating Magnus in classical chess, the whole world opens up. I mean, it is bananas. But it's going to be really tough to do with black, right? So he plays bishop b5, and now he plays bishop c5, which is something he played in the candidates tournament. The idea is to sneak the knight to g6 where it overprotects e5. He played this against Nepomniachtchi. I don't know if you remember that. Probably don't. I barely remember that myself. There's another way you can play here, which is just putting the knight on g6 period. He plays this, c3 knight e7. HIKARU's got this new style where he likes to provoke Magnus into a fight. He doesn't play the Berlin. Okay, he's not playing the Berlin against. He's not like, oh dear, I'm playing Magnus. I've got to equalize. Also, I don't know why I turned British. Also, this is a terrible accent by Gotham. Like, that's not what he does. He's not like, oh dear. So he doesn't do it. He plays to fight. He's trying to get into a fight. Knight g6, d4, bishop a7. All this has been played before. Now, Nepo here against HIKARU played bishop g5, and he played this setup with bishop e3, knight d2. Magnus plays rook e1. So Magnus knew at this point, HIKARU's in his candidate's prep. I should do something to take him out of his candidate's prep and go into what I know. So he plays rook e1. There's probably nothing wrong with the move rook e1. It's why he spent 6 minutes. By the way, notice no noodle eating from Magnus this game. Ain't nobody leaving for 15 minutes. Castles. Bishop e3, HIKARU plays queen f6. That's crazy. That's normally where the knight is in this opening. This is bananas. This is like chess from the 1880s. HIKARU is playing like Steinitz, when they would put the queen on f6 and be like, do your worst. It works because you can't put the knight on d5, right? So now Magnus thinks for 13 minutes, and he takes the knight on c6. HIKARU Zwischenzugs, pawn takes d4. And then he trades all the pieces and goes here. Look at the evaluation. And now, not just Magnus down 24 minutes on the clock. Magnus tries to speed up here a little bit, plays knight d2, knight f5, knight f3. He's worse. Magnus is worse with white. Not only is he worse with white, he went to the confessional booth and said that his play here was embarrassing. He mentioned that the move queen f6 kind of like annoyed him, bothered him, kind of like threw him off, and he tried to kind of clarify matters by taking. He should have kept the tension instead. And from the opening, it is HIKARU Nakamura who is just better with black against the GOAT. Now it's about how you play the position from here. Rook e8, king g2, f6. It's going worse and worse. Rook e3, it's -1 on deep engine analysis. It's sort of like black controls the position, black controls the diagonal. What do you do? Well, apparently, all you got to do here is you got to play a5. The best thing that white can do here, again, according to the deep engines, is to play a move like rook c1. I can't even explain to you what rook c1 does. Trying to like get him to take, and now you play a4, and then maybe white plays a3, and apparently this is like -1.5. The game is over on deep analysis here from the engine. It loves just taking queenside space. It does not see a plan for white. It doesn't see a plan. Like, I don't even know. I don't know. I mean, knight e1, I don't know. If you try to play h4 to try to play h5, black can just play h5. It loves the position. HIKARU plays knight h8. And the idea of knight h8 is to play g6, is to kick the knight out, and then bring the knight like this. But this gives white a little time to improve his position. And again, HIKARU's like, I don't quite understand how I'm supposed to break through here. So he, makes a couple of improving moves. But now the position locks up. He doesn't take the necessary space on the queen side. The position locks up. And Magnus kind of escapes of the worst of it. And now the players agree to a draw. But I found it absolutely incredible that the engine thought you push the pawn to a4 and white just doesn't have anything at all. Now, the plan that HIKARU chose and ultimately the queenside locking seems to be what went wrong in this game. Maybe he kind of was like, well, I can't ever lose, so draw is fine. But it's kind of wild because, yeah, that plan, this was apparently the only plan of action. The way HIKARU played it was, again, I'm not a 2800 GM. I can't break the inner workings of this position out for you, but I can tell you, allowing white to have a little bit more time to consolidate seemed to be the issue here. And once Magnus locked the position, there was, you still had some nagging pressure, but Magnus is kind of well equipped to defend this position. And it almost felt like, a draw is completely fine for black, so why risk anything? Which means we got to play Armageddon. And now we go for the exact same thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This time, Magnus plays more aggressively. Now, the chess.com thing gives this a brilliant move. It's ridiculous. It's not a brilliant move, but it doesn't know any better. Knight e5, d4. Magnus clearly had some time to prepare. Bishop b3, take, d6, c3 from Magnus, castles, and c5 from HIKARU. HIKARU very well prepared, gets himself into a position where he's completely comfortable. Magnus plays rook e1, queen c7. Remember, HIKARU down 3 minutes, and he has to draw the game. Rook d8. Now Magnus plays knight d2. Magnus is playing quickly. He wants to beat HIKARU. He's not happy with how the previous game went. He makes maximum improvements to his position. c4, now a very big moment. They both played 18 moves. They made maximum improvements to their position. Now we begin the next phase of the game. We're trying to go here. We're trying to go for f4. Knight d3. HIKARU tries to clarify matters and take the pawn on e4. Magnus takes and plays rook d4. He has that target on d6. HIKARU says, take it. Magnus says, no, I'm good. I'm going to reinforce. Rook d6. Yeah, because here HIKARU could have played d5 and sat there for the remainder of the game defending this ugly pawn. He decides, you know what? No. Magnus says, bro, it's free pawn. Free pawn. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Let's go. Knight e3. Queen d4. And he is just up a pawn. He's up a pawn. Opposite color bishops. He does not care if the bishops are of the opposite color. We don't trade into the opposite color bishop endgame. We keep the knights on the board. We bring the king to the center. This is masterful. This is the worst place to be. Versus Magnus Carlsen. The king makes it to b6. Look at how iconic this is. Starting on g1, started from the bottom, and now we're here. King goes to b6. Makes a couple of necessary preparation moves. HIKARU creates counterplay. It is not enough. You take the pawn. King b6. White swept the Armageddons today 5-0. This is such a weird format. And Magnus beats HIKARU in the Armageddon after a very, very, very good showing, may I just say, from HIKARU in the classical game. It's a shame because it's almost like he was okay with the draw there. I wish he just, I wish he thought he was playing me. Not easy to do, I guess, but, if he was playing, if HIKARU was playing me in that game, he would have destroyed me. But I guess draw is all right. And, but yeah, white sweeps in the Armageddon today. I don't have any final standings for you because, again, I can't actually pull them up. So tomorrow I will have a picture instead because I can't see the results for some reason. They're not there. Probably because of the weird scoring system. Anyway, get out of here.